Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, Mr. District Director, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. Congratulations on being here for the 35th anniversary. I applaud you. I am totally impressed with what you have done and all the things that you have just said. This is really, after what Jim said, this is really an icebreaker, only double the length of an icebreaker. Let me tell you a little bit about growing up in Indiana. I was in the first crop of the baby boomers. My dad came home from World War II, from serving in the Army Air Corps. Got married, started a family, started a farm. It was sort of a dilapidated farm looking back. The best building was the barn, which makes sense, right? The house we called the old shack. I didn't really know what an old shack it was until looking at pictures a couple of years ago, and I thought, my goodness, that could have been from the Depression. There was a telephone inside on the wall with a crank and a party line, and there would be 4 or 5 people listening to you talk, maybe. 3 longs and a short, that was the one that Mom came to. The water in the well was so bad it was laced with sulfur, and when you walked in the door it smelled like rotten eggs. Now I had an incurable sweet tooth. Whenever there was a pound of chocolates, I would get my little hands in there and I'd grab them and try to get them, and I thought, you know what, if I mix them around a little bit I can take one and nobody will know that they're missing. And then one day Mom put the chocolates in the top drawer of the chest of drawers. She said, now I'm going to go take a nap and you leave those alone. Yes, Mom. As soon as she left, I went into problem-solving mode. How can I get up there? I started pulling out the bottom drawers in the next drawer and the next drawer, and I was creating a ladder, and I started climbing up, and just as I reached the box, the law of physics kicked in. All the way, yes indeed, and all fell over the chest of drawers on top of me, and I was flat as a pancake, and I was screaming and crying, and my mother came running. What really hurt worst was that I didn't listen, and she had me. I was so busted, and there I was lying there, squashed. Well, I think they thought I was a problem child, so the next thing I know, I'm all bundled up, and I am literally in the back of a wagon, a Surgeon robot wagon drawn by 2 horses. And my grandfather, whom I called Bumpy, and my dad, the 2 of them were picking corn. Really. Harvesting corn by hand as they went down through the corn rows. Wow, think of the changes. That very same year, there was a threshing machine with a steam engine. They were threshing wheat, and the next year it was gone. And then tractors came and combines and corn pickers, and there were so many changes all the time. And the biggest change in the old shack was the TV. In 1950, we were the first ones in our neighborhood to have a TV set. It was this big. Well, the cabinet was this big, the tube was about this big. And I would sit about 2 feet from that tube watching Kukla, Fran, and Ollie, a puppet show from Chicago. My mom would come through the living room, she'd say, Bobby, get back from that. The tube will blow up and you'll be blinded for life. And I'd say, yeah, Mom. And I'd go clear across the room and sit on the couch for a little bit until she left, and I'd scoot back up there. And then, in 1950, Roy Rogers, and Trigger, and Dale Evans, and Nellie Bell, and all that. In 51 came Gene Autry. Wowzer! In 54, it's howdy doody time. It's howdy doody time. Yeah, see? And then, it's 55, the Mouseketeers. Boy, I love the Mouseketeers. Actually, I had this thing for Annette Funicello. And I knew that if she saw me, she would fall in love and we would get married. I didn't really understand why that would happen, but I just thought that it might happen. And in that very same year, Peter Pan came out on NBC, and Mary Martin played Peter Pan. Remember that? And halfway through the picture, Tinkerbell was dying and her light was getting dim. And Peter Pan said, all you little boys and girls out there in TV land, if you just clap. So I was clapping surreptitiously, because I didn't want Mom to know that I was clapping for a fairy on TV. Because, you know, I had to grow up and be a big, real American man. I had to get a BB gun someday. And then one day I was watching a show called The Big Picture. The Big Picture was a documentary about Patton going off to saving the 101st at Bastogne, or the war in Korea. And there I was, wow, jumping out of airplanes, riding in tanks. I want to do that. And just then, Mom disturbed me by saying, Bobby, get back from that TV, it'll blow up. I'm thinking, what does she know? This is her first TV. But I dutifully went over to the kitchen to get a drink of water or something, and I came back in the living room, and the tube had blown up. There were glass shards all over the living room. Yeah, you never heard of that, did you? But my mom was right. I should have listened. So many times that I should have listened. On Saturdays, Mom and Granny would go off to Rensselaer, Indiana, to the A&P store and get needed items, you know, like lard and Hostess Twinkies. Because we had all the stuff we needed at home anyway, because we had a farm. And while they were in the grocery store, Bumpy and I would go over to the courthouse, and there'd be all these grizzled World War I vets without legs and so on, and they would have poppies and so on. Bumpy told me about poppies. In fact, I have right here, somewhere, I positioned it so that it would come out easily, of course. This is a 1950 poppy. He would usually give them 15 cents or a quarter, and he would wear it proudly on his lapel. And he said, Bobby, this is about Flanders Field and about the poppies. And you have to learn about that, and you have to know about it. So, fellow Toastmasters and welcome guests, if you don't know about Flanders Field and poppies, look it up, Google it, because your kids and your grandkids should know about it. If you go now, this is what the poppies look like. I got this one on Saturday from the American Legion in front of Fry's. Things change, don't they? So after we got done with that, Mom and Granny, they're coming out of the A&P store, and what are they doing? They're looking at their green stamps to see if they can fill up a book. Because you know you can get really cool stuff with those books of green stamps. You like badminton sets, croquet sets, stuff you can't live without, right? That's the way it was. When we got home, Mom would cook up things. Now, Mom was a good cook, but Granny was a fantastic cook. Chicken and noodles and mashed potatoes and gravy and pie and all that. Mom was more down to earth. She would make a good meal. We'd have hamburgers and maybe some applesauce and some green beans. And this one night I'm sitting there and I ate the applesauce and the hamburgers, and I'm looking at those green beans and I found them repugnant. The color, the taste, the smell, I just couldn't do it. She said, when you finish those green beans, you can go play. I thought, oh geez, what am I going to do? She cleaned up the whole kitchen and left the kitchen and said it again. Problem solving set in one more time. I thought, what am I going to do? I know, I'll take those green beans and I'll put them out on the back porch. She'll think I ate them. Oh, in a newspaper Dad had been reading. I quickly put the green beans in the newspaper. I was about to go out into the back porch when here came Mom. So I quickly sat on them. She looked at that plate and she said, oh, what a good boy. You can go play now. Oh, dead boy walking. 5 minutes hadn't gone by and there was a small nuclear explosion in the kitchen. Robert James Meyers, get your butt in here now. I went in, of course I was relegated to my bedroom for the rest of the evening and told that from now on I had to eat my green beans. By then I was getting bigger because 2 years early I had this all figured out. I got my BB gun. Yes, my BB gun. Yeah, like Ralphie, you know, my Red Ryder Daisy BB gun. I shot everything that moved and didn't move. And what did Mom say?
Shoot your eye out.
You'll shoot your eye out. So one day I shot the shed. Sheds are easy to hit, right? But the BB hit the shed and came right back and hit me right here. I said, darn, Mom could be right. Just maybe I should start listening to her. But no, I didn't listen because I had a couple sisters along the way, and they were growing up, and one day I'm in the backyard with my BB gun. I said, I'm going to shoot you. So they screamed and went running, which is what I wanted them to do. So I moved the gun to the side and pulled the trigger so they would hear it, right? And they would scream and yell a little bit more. The BB ricocheted off the tank and hit my sister right in the back of the head. Oh, she screamed. She was screaming like a gut-stuck hog. And my mother came running. What did you do? What did you do? Oh, it was an accident. You wait till your dad gets home, she says. And sure enough, I didn't see that BB gun for 2 years. It was just gone like a freight train.
Yeah.
And then I went to the movies, got big enough to go by myself. I saw Ben-Hur. I paid $0.25 to see Ben-Hur. 15 cents for popcorn. Can you do that now? No, just the other day I paid $13.75 for medium popcorn and drink. Took my breath away. I stopped. I thought, am I going to do this or not? I was going to go to see The Martian though, and I wanted plenty of refreshments. And then something happened that would change everything. This was during Harry Truman's administration and the second Red Scare, and we need to get under our desks because they're going to nuke us in rural Indiana. My teacher came to me and said, Bobby, I've got this little book and it tells how glass is made. I want you to read this book and I want you to come back and tell the whole class how glass is made. I dragged my feet for about 2 months because I knew that I would have to stand up in front of everyone. Oh geez, I could sit in the back and just tell everybody, but I'd come up in front of the class and tell everyone, 60 kids? I dragged my feet until she said, I want that report. So I read the book. I learned about soda ash and lime and sand and 3,000 degrees of heat, and you stir it all up and you get glass. And I told everybody and they were amazed. They were amazed, one, probably that I came up here and did that, and the teacher was impressed. And I was that day unconsciously competent. I did something. I was the subject matter expert. And that was something that we learn in Toastmasters. Now, as I went along through my adult life, I became consciously incompetent because I knew I didn't want to be up here, and I didn't know how to get back up here. And so then I joined Toastmasters, and I found that if you practice and practice and practice, and you don't think when I get my CC done that I'm there, that I'm an accomplished speaker. No, you keep practicing and fine-tuning and working your craft. And that's what Toastmasters is all about. So fellow Toastmasters and welcome guests, I would encourage you to join the Toastmaster Club if you are not a member, or to continue working past your CC to your DTM 1, 2, and 3 and become a professional speaker if you so desire. That's what it's all about. I want to thank you for being so attentive and having fun with me, and turn and control the meeting back to our